Coming up on this week's show, we have a huge list of topics for you. PlayStation's State of Play showed off a gargantuan amount of gameplay from Final Fantasy XVI. Jack Black has a love of peaches and may even net himself an Oscar nomination because of it. Cyberpunk 2077 goes into overdrive mode if you have the power to use it. Ghostwire Tokyo comes home to Xbox on Game Pass. Spellcasting genres seem to be the next big thing in gaming. Redfall is having a PR nightmare, and Tears of the Kingdom is looking far more ambitious than we could have imagined. Hello friends, and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast, the coffee morning show brought to you each week where friends hang out and chat about some of the latest stories going on in the industry. You can follow the show on all of your favourite platforms or watch the video version over on youtube.com/gamertagged. This is episode 102, and joining me for all of the bants today is the man with the personality of a can of orange tango, the majestic beard there. Oh, it is the king of the tangent, Mr. James McClellan.
Morning. Yeah, this thing's gone subcritical at this point.
Oh my god, it's got its own orbit and everything. Yeah, it's incredible.
I heard voices from it last night, so I'm a little concerned that the lost tribe of the Sierra Madrone is in here somewhere, but I'll figure it out.
I was going to ask, like, what size of animal do you think you could hide in there?
I think a reasonable, like a mid-range badger.
Ooh, that's
impressive,
yeah.
The color scheme might, so maybe just I could probably steal baby orangutans from a zoo at this point. So, not that I ever would.
That's true. They would see you and go, "Mummy, mummy."
Yeah,
and
mummy.
I'd say, "In you go," and then you just see, perfect.
Is that like a? Yeah, I was going to say like a pouch, like a mama koala. Not a koala,
yeah.
A kangaroo.
Yeah, I can. I've always yearned for a beard big enough to allow me to smuggle wallabies. So
I think you're almost there. I would say like another half inch of girth, and you're there.
I don't know if I can cope with the weight. I find I'm slack-jawed an awful lot these days, just from the gravitational pull.
I thought that was just lack of sleep that left you slack-jawed all the time. Now we know!
Column A, a little from column B at this point, but...
yeah.
But yeah.
Wonderful to have you here, pal. Wonderful. And joining us in the co-host hot seat is none other than the voice from beyond. You've heard her in titles like Rollerdrome and Goat Simulator 3, with more to come. But we can't talk about that. It's the ethereal, the spooky, the immensely talented, the BAFTA-winning Sarah Lynham.
Hello there. That's me.
It's you. Sans coffee, so early morning delirium.
Yeah, I know. We were just talking about how outrageous my concept of, or my relationship with coffee is. Obviously, I am obsessed with coffee and I love coffee. But it's bad to rely on coffee in the morning, so I don't have it first thing. I let my brain wake itself up, which, let's be honest, you'll see why that's not a good idea as I start to talk later on. It's just going to spiral. Yeah, exactly. We'll see. Well, you'll see. I already know how this is going to go.
We're off to a cracking start. I absolutely love it. This is why the amigos get together, and we're supposed to be talking about video games, but we end up talking about coffee and beards and badgers and things that we can hide in various places. Yeah. Damn.
In vet. No. Bad brain.
Are you censoring yourself?
Jamie's censoring himself?
Every now and again, I actually have gears, and this time they kicked in. That's good. So
probably smart, because we have a absolutely belter of a show for you listeners and viewers. I got carried away. I couldn't stop adding show topics to this one, so it might be quite a long episode, but I do have a kind of hard stop at the 2-hour mark. So we'll try and stop Jamie from going off on too many tangents. We have missed him last week, and we tried our best to go on tangents, but we were conscious of not going too far. But this week, We are going to talk a little bit about what we've been playing the past week or so. We're going to be talking a lot about the PlayStation State of Play, which just happened, and they showed off a gargantuan chunk of gameplay for Final Fantasy 16. You know, that small little indie title from Square Enix that they're hoping is going to be a bit of a success. But speaking of small indie titles, Sea of Stars is a new JRPG that just looks utterly glorious. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, peaches, 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 peaches. I love you. And that's all you get from me, because Jack Black's Peaches could be eligible for an Oscar nomination. So, I mean, we have to talk about that. And what else we have? Cyberpunk 2077 making headlines again, but this in a good way, because they are pushing bleeding edge tech with their Overdrive ray tracing, a feature that nobody can currently play unless you are very lucky and you have a 4090 graphics card. Ghostwire Tokyo has finally made its way across the pond to its rightful place on Xbox, and it's on Game Pass, so you can check that out. Redfall is sadly having a PR freaking nightmare ahead of its launch in May. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Spellcasting game seems to be the next big thing, with Immortals of Aveum just got announced. It looks incredible. And of course, Tears of the Kingdom, The Legend of Zelda, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, gets its official cinematic story trailer 3, and holy sweet Jesus, it looks incredible. So, Sarah, pick one. What do you want to talk about? I'll let you kick us off.
Oh my goodness.
All of that.
If you're letting me kick us off, I'm absolutely going to talk about Final Fantasy 16, because, oh my God, I was sat there watching the State of Play going, oh yeah, you know, I saw the trailer for Final Fantasy 16, and, you know, it's a big hitter franchise. Like, you know, it's been around for ages. But to be honest, I haven't really played a lot of the more contemporary games. Like, you know, FF7 holds a very special place in my heart. And I was like, cool, but the trailer for Final Fantasy 16 does look interesting. And then they dropped this extended thing in the State of Play where I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't even feel like a Final Fantasy game anymore. They've basically gone into my brain and gone, oh, you know how sad you are about the fact that God of War is basically all finished? And you know how you really love things like The Witcher? Well, how about we kind of grab all of those things for you, put them all together, and actually give you an action RPG Final Fantasy game with these insane level fights where you have, like, you actually literally get to play what you would have summoned back in a game in FF7, for example. Like, actually being able to play as Ifrit is, I was like, okay, I don't even care how much it is. I'll cut off my left arm so that I can play this game, because it just looks incredible. It looks gorgeous. It looks like just the right amount for me of, like, it has the sort of action RPG elements to it, but you also see little moments of, like, a chocobo, and you're like, oh great, it is still Final Fantasy universe. But yeah, it feels like they've done a massive, like, 180 on what they would normally do, and I didn't know that was the style the game was going to be in, and whether or not that's already been alluded to, I don't know, but, like, this felt like, for me, the first discovery of that being the style they were going for. So my mind was a little bit blown by that, and I'm super, super, super psyched for it. Look, it looks incredible. It looks, I don't have words.
Yeah. I was watching it as well. I've actually watched it 3 times now, that 20-minute trailer, because when it was live as part of the State of Play, it's just a 1080 broadcast. It looks impressive, but it's still heavily compressed. It's down to 1080p as well as the YouTube compression or Twitch compression, depending on where you were catching it. But then afterward, they put the 4K version up, and then I watched that, like, back to back twice on the spot. And I can't get my thoughts together on what we saw. It was so much. It was so much, and everything that was happening on screen, it was such variety. At various points, there was just a whole bunch of numbers getting spaffed over the screen as well, and I thought, what the heck is going on? It is just insane. And then another point, you've got Godzilla battles, and then at another point you've got Panzer Dragoon happening within the game, and then you've got, as you said, going across these big open world spaces like it's a Witcher or like an Elden Ring kind of thing, and you think, Jesus Christ, are they making like the ultimate game here that just has everything you could possibly want from not just a Final Fantasy game, but a fantasy ARPG? And I remember reading way back around the time when it was originally getting talked about and like teaser trailers and stuff, and how Yoshida-san was saying that it's going in a real-time combat direction this time as opposed to the traditional classic turn-based stuff. And I was over the moon at that, but I understand maybe a lot of core fans, long-term fans are lamenting that loss, but he was, I think, saying, and I'm paraphrasing and probably butchering it like crazy here, but that turn-based at the time, that was the thing for RPGs, whereas now it's not really the thing anymore, and it's to appeal to the wider audience and what gamers expect. It is real-time, fast combat, and good lord, they are investing a crazy amount of attention and detail into their combat system. And I was watching another video last night saying that, I think it was Maximilian Dude who made a really, really good point. It's like, this is their Witcher kind of thing, but Witcher doesn't really invest in combat so much as a core kind of pillar. It's there, but it's not really the focus of Witcher games, whereas this is very much a core focus is their combat system, and it just looks ridiculously good. I can't wrap my head around everything that we saw because it was such an overload of different things that just looks incredible. And you're thinking, this is coming out, okay, it's exclusive to PlayStation 5, which is another conversation, which is frustrating for sure. But they're saying that they're pushing the PlayStation 5 to its kind of full capability, or at least as far as they can in 2023 anyway. And it just looks insanely polished. The scope of it just looks ridiculous. And when you see that little chocobo jumping in and flapping its little wings, and you're thinking, oh my God, it looks incredible. But I'm still scunnered about trying to process the whole presentation because there was so much. Anyway, Jamie,
so
what's
much.
your... I know, Jamie, what's your history with FF? Because mine is very little.
It's where I've talked before about how I used to go to a friend's place at the weekend and watch him play games. Yeah, it used to be part of our weekends. Was like, so we would have multiplayer games we would play, but I would sit for portions and watch him play his single player stuff. I just enjoyed it. We would just sit and shoot the shit. And Final Fantasy was one of them. He has played every Final Fantasy game I think that has ever come out to death, and I've watched him play through 7. We spent a very happy weekend with that. My only real Final Fantasy dip was with 15, with the MMO. And I played quite a bit of that.
14.
Loved it. 14, sorry, thank you. Yeah, and loved it. Like, got completely hooked and played it for a while and then sort of stepped away for a bit. But yeah, the trailer for 16 looks ludicrous. It's just I didn't catch the actual state of play. I had to go back afterwards and catch up. And yeah, there's so much happening, and I have no idea what any of it is apart from my barely recovered memories from watching through Final Fantasy. I think that's that thing that was this. Yeah, that's that thing. But as a game in and of itself, without having the history there, it just looks like everything I could possibly want from an ARPG. Just absolute tip-top. There's everything going on in there, and it's another game that's made me sit there and think, might actually need a PS5 one of these days, which I don't get often. But with that, I was like, that looks like something that I really need to get involved in. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to see what. I'm looking forward to see more gameplay and see what it looks like.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of conversations online of people saying, "Damn, this is a game where I'm actually really salty that it's not coming to other platforms." And I get it, because I think based on that last state of play, this is going to be a system seller for PS5. I think it is up there with the God of War Ragnarok. The anticipation for that game was huge. You know, apparently Spider-Man 2 is coming out this year. That's going to be hugely anticipated. That's maybe going to shift hardware, but I think when it's Final Fantasy 16, it's something else entirely, because it's such a revered franchise. It's been going for 35 years or something. And this is just looking ridiculously insane. I thought it was also coming to PC, but I guess it's not. I guess it is only the PlayStation 5 then. I don't know where I maybe got that information, or maybe picked something up wrong, but I thought it was PC as well, but maybe not. I guess it's not. But PlayStation 5. I could be totally wrong, but everything that I'm seeing recently is just obviously mentioning the PlayStation 5, but I wouldn't put it past Sony and Square Enix to want to get it to PC at some point, because they all have previously, right? Or pretty much. Apart from, actually, the 7 Remake is still on PS5, right?
I think it's just PS5 at the moment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's probably just a matter of time, because, you know, they'll like you say, they'll want to try and push some more hardware, right? And then inevitably, I think it will end up on PC. So you don't have to worry, Jamie. You just have to wait.
Then. I can still avoid giving Sony too much of my money.
A little bit longer if that transpires to be the case. But like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm still salty that hasn't made it across to Xbox, and I don't know if it ever will. And of course, with Part 2, when did the trailer come out? Last year, I think it was, for 7 Remake Part 2. It looked insane, because they're going like the huge part, like the next chapter of that game. I have no experience with the game, so I'm probably fluffing the details here like crazy, but it just looked like it was going to be huge blown out environments and a hugely exciting next chapter in Cloud's story and that narrative. So Sarah, you are familiar quite well with Final Fantasy VII, so you must be hyped for 7 Remake, but also 616 as well. As that's coming this year, and if Part 2 Remake is coming this year, I really don't know, or if it's next year.
So. Yeah. It feels like it's soon. It's looking absolutely insane. Like at the very end of the first part was like, so you think you know this game, do you? Ha 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 ha. We've included this element of like time manipulation. So I don't know if you know this game like you think you know this game. So it's and it's exploring a whole like kind of side element, which is part of a different game. So I mean, it's great. Basically, it exists within the universe, but they're doing it in a slightly different way, and it's very exciting. I'm super psyched.
Man, what a time to be a Final Fantasy fan as well. I gotta sort my shit out and get on 7 Remake at least. Oh, God, I know, I'm sorry, but I there's too much to play. We've got Jedi Survivor this month. We've got Tears of the Kingdom next month. 16 the following month on June 22nd. It's there's no time. There's no time. There's too many games, and I'm feeling the pressure. I'm gonna like have a breakdown of expectations of things I desperately want to play but can't.
Quit whatever the other stuff we do is in our lives. So no more day jobs, no more sleeping, no more like whatever you need to exist. We only play games. That's the pact that we do from here on in.
I would do that if the Mega Millions. If the Mega Millions jackpot comes in for me, which is 384 million apparently, then I'm funding all of you.
Cool.
To just podcast.
You heard it, everyone.
And play
it's
the
happening.
Games.
Yeah, that's a binding contract.
That's a binding contract.
The worst bit is, even with that, we would never get through the pile of shame.
No, we don't.
Because eventually you have to stop to either eat, sleep, or go to the bathroom. And this is... And I actually had a conversation last night saying, wouldn't it be amazing if you didn't have to eat or sleep? That's how bad it's got.
Oh, yeah. It wastes a lot of time. Yeah.
That's what you need to fund if the jackpot comes in. Is some sort of... You need to fund scientific research into a pill that replaces sleep and food.
That won't kill you over time from exhaustion. Yeah,
preferably. But I mean, I'll be honest, I'll take a reduction of my lifespan if I can just get at least 20% of my fucking pile of shame knocked off.
It's never going to happen, mate. It's never going to happen, sadly. But good lord, folks. Final Fantasy 16, June 22nd is coming out. Pre-orders are obviously up. The collector's edition looks utterly gorgeous. And I must cut up my credit card in the event that I accidentally, slip, ordered kind of thing on the keyboard. But I mean, that statue looks incredible as well. The two icon kaijus just like fighting each other. Oh my god. Whew, I'm getting all sweaty and just thinking about it. Jesus Christ, it looks just so good. Anyway, speaking of JRPGs, since we're on a roll, Sea of Stars is the next one we're going to talk a little bit about. This is a new JRPG that has been inspired by the classics, by the original Final Fantasies, by things like Chrono Trigger or Secret of Mana, and good lord, everybody, it looks oh my gosh, it looks amazing. It is from the developers of The Messenger. It has a score by legendary Japanese composer Yasunori Mitsuda, I should say, who was the composer of Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and Zero Blade Chronicles 3. It's on Kickstarter. There is a demo on Steam and the Nintendo Store, and it comes out in the 29th of August. So we are just rolling month to month with banger games here, and it looks utterly gorgeous for that SNES 16-bit era of JRPGs. It's true classic turn-based as well, so if you're not going to get your fix from Final Fantasy 16, you'll probably get it here. And it just looks utterly gorgeous, Jamie. What's your thoughts?
It's beautiful. I love that art style. I've always loved that art style, and it is absolutely beautiful. That trailer looked fantastic, and they showed off some really nice features. It does look very much like the JRPGs of old, which is obviously what they're going for. Yeah. And yeah, the nostalgia from the trailer alone was palpable. I just felt good to watch it being played. Definitely on my list. I think I'm going to grab the demo on Steam and give it a run through this week.
Yeah,
he says, fingers crossed. But yeah, it instantly reminded me of watching the old Final Fantasy game at my mate's place, and that sort of thing. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice still. But yeah, it's a definite pickup for me. I have such a love for indie titles, and especially that art style, and anything sort of 16-bit or cutesy pixel art and that sort of thing. I gravitate towards them quite automatically. So it's definitely on my pickup list, along with everything else. But yeah, I was very impressed with what I saw shown off, and I love the turn-based combat. I really enjoy that. I think it's quite, because it's a little slower paced. When you play an action RPG and you're with the controller or mouse and keyboard for me, and you're frantically diving around the level, swinging your sword and casting magic and trying to keep your health up and trying to, it gets a bit. And I play a lot of other games that are frantic as well. Like, I'm heavily back into Overwatch, and I play a healer, so I am running around the levels, sending out healing orbs and jumping up and down, trying to. So to play a game where it's turn-based, you can sit there and go, right, what do I do? How am I going to fuck this thing up next? Give me a couple of minutes to plot. It's nice. It's a nice change of pace, and it lets you immerse yourself, I think. So yeah, looking really, really good. Very impressed.
Reading some of the features on the website here, it says, engaging turn-based combat. Pressing the action button in sync with the animations increases damage output while reducing incoming damage. Along with timed hits, combat features multi-character combo attacks, boosting, and a strategic locks system offering options to play with different damage types in order to hinder enemies while they are channeling powerful attacks or spells, all in an immersive take on the genre. No random encounters, no transitions to separate battlefields, and no grinding. Unshackled traversal. Swim, climb, vault, jump off, or hoist up ledges as you traverse seamlessly through the world with a navigation system based on platformer expertise that breaks free from the classic bound to the grid tile set movement.
Yeah.
It looks like a modern take on the classics. And me not being a turn-based guy is really interested in this, and I'm going to be jumping on that demo to see if it really does click with me, because I love the look of Octopath Traveler and those games, but that was very much classic turn-based Final Fantasy back of that era, and I didn't quite take to that. But this looks like a bit of a modern approach to it, whilst feeling classic, and that is enough to kind of pique my interest and give it a shot. So, Sarah, how are you excited for this as well?
Yeah, it looks super cute, right? As well, like I think that is also. It's an instant like, oh yeah, you have my interest, and I love the fact that we can play a demo. Like that's great. I'm all aboard the play the demo train, and I was just having a look at the Kickstarter as well. I love that it's being kickstarted. That's so cool. Like I feel like I haven't backed enough indie stuff via Kickstarter, and I love kind of watching as it builds momentum and all the kind of like stretch goals that they achieve and stuff like that. I'm just having a look at what they've got so far. So there were things like extra dungeons and stuff, some DLC and some in-game cinematics, which is really cool. Like they've got to that point. And there's a little bit here from the composer about how he feels like even though he's been writing for other games and has heard music in other games, that it hasn't necessarily been able to like pinpoint that like golden age of the 90s like nostalgia, and how he's basically that's his kind of main focus for this, and that's super exciting for me because I'm a huge fan of like music and games, so I'm really excited to see how that's sounding, especially if it's anything like Chrono Trigger, which is like iconic levels of amazing. I'm so excited for that. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm hugely looking forward to checking this out because it's just because of the style more than anything and the music in it. Oh, it looks like it's going to be just a perfection little nostalgia hit and something new as well. Wonderful. Sea of Stars from Sabotage Games. Check it out, listeners, viewers, because it's going to be fun. And if you want to just really tease yourself, go to seaofstarsgame.co and it's got all the information there, but about halfway down, there's a section on dynamic lighting, and there's this little, I'm playing with it now, sorry guys, I'm distracted, but there's a little zodiac dial that you can click and rotate, and it will change the time of day for the pixel art, and it just shows you the dynamic real-time lighting in pixel art, and oh fucking hell, it's so good, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Yeah, you could just spend hours just like rotating this, and it's oddly soothing and gorgeous as well. So there you go.
I dare not go do that now.
We'll lost Jamie if we do that.
Yeah, I'll be gone.
I know. It's like a fidget spinner, but as a 16-bit fidget spinner kind of thing. Anyway.
I like it.
So, let's talk about Cyberpunk. Jamie, you're a huge Cyberpunk fan. You love your Cyberpunk. You love CD Projekt Red. You love bleeding edge computers and PC stuff, don't you? That nobody can afford.
I know. No, I do not. I still can't get hold of a decent graphics card at an affordable rate, and I haven't played Cyberpunk. I took a look at this always. I looked at the article that you sent us, and yeah, it looks. When will it be enough? When? Never enough. I'm not entirely sure I'm comfortable with video games being so true to life that I can't tell if they're real or not. Because at that point, I'm just sitting there going, oh my god, he beheaded that man. Oh no, it's a video game. Okay. I'm not just being sent snuff movies. That's fantastic. It looks stunning, and it is absolutely pushing the limits of the current tech, which is always interesting to see from a tech perspective. But Cyberpunk is already very pretty, and I don't
very much so, yeah.
know that there will be people experiencing extreme FOMO over this and mortgaging their house to get new graphics cards and new PCs, and it's just play the damn game. Look at Sea of Stars. That's made up of dots. It's gorgeous. You don't need all the fucking shiny bells and whistles. But
we do, Jamie. We need all the bells and all the whistles, and we need those bells and whistles path traced and ray traced and everything.
But that's just, at this point, I'm waiting to hear like Pong has received a 60 FPS ray traced update for the fucking boop, boop, boop.
Don't threaten me with a good time. I would buy that if it was.
That's
Come
what
on.
worries me. So, but no, I mean, it did look stunning. Like, I can't obviously knock the actual work itself. The mentality that people have for it troubles me somewhat, but it did look absolutely stunning. I won't be upgrade. I mean, I'd love to upgrade anyway because I'm a tech nut and I want my PC to be able to do everything, including wake me up in the morning with a massage and a plate of toast. But the
and a go-go.
Yeah.
Wake you up with a go-go.
Just it's hard to care. I'll be honest, it is for me. Like I get to a point where I'm just like, yeah, it's really nice, but I can't do it and I don't need it and it's too shiny. Well done. Very impressed. Leave me alone.
I know. I mean, it looks insane for those who can actually run it with the 4090 graphics cards and the latest DLSS algorithm and everything like that. And you make a valid point as well, of course, Jamie, about at what point does really great art direction start to take a back seat in the conversation of realistic lighting as opposed to curated art-directed lighting, really great cinematography, which is not technically, quote unquote, accurate lighting. Like the sun wouldn't be there, but you're placing it there for an effect. And this is going to be an ongoing, I guess, conversation and battle. For certain games, it's totally fine. For Cyberpunk, the realism stuff and accurate reflections and accurate lighting for those neon signs and everything, it kind of makes sense, and it is a really good showcase for that. But other games like Ghost of Tsushima or A Breath of the Wild or like FromSoft's games, very much curated spaces to have a specific look, to have a very specific lighting style that doesn't need ray tracing or path tracing or shadows that are accurate or believable or things like that, because it's all mood and atmosphere. And I think I always land personally on really great atmosphere and art direction over this isn't accurate to real life or things like that. And the most memorable games for me anyway are ones that will make you feel something based on the atmosphere and the cinematography of it, the art direction of it. But that's just where I land. Sarah.
It's masterful work. Like, it's amazing what's being done, and I think you can't deny that. But I think we're all aligned in that it's a lot. And I grew up playing games where I was impressed when like a little square head looked like it could be a person, and I was like, holy shit, that's a person. I'm playing that person. Whereas nowadays, like, I guess I just feel like, it's like being given like excessive amounts of candy. Like, I don't need it, but I'm going to enjoy it, of course. Like, it's not. I don't dislike it, but I don't need it. I still haven't even played Cyberpunk actually, but like I don't feel the need to go out of my way to make sure I have the absolute finest tuned version of it either. Like, I totally agree with you. If you're not feeling something from the story or feeling something from the environment or the gameplay or something like that, like I'm personally not gonna notice whether or not the light has been captured in the exact right way. Like, I was sort of watching the video and thinking there was a moment where you saw there's loads of side by sides in this video that they've shown. And it's like there's a light like off in the distance, like it would be maybe 10 meters away in real life, and you could see in the original one it's just like sort of a bar light that's there that's lit the room, and the room is lit. Great. But in the new version, it's got this kind of beautiful, like the way that it kind of spans across the wall in the way that it would in real life, in sort of more of an arcing like shape and everything. I was like, it's amazing. But still, if I walked into the room and I saw there's a light in there, it's lit the room, great, happy days. Like, I will suspend that. And that's maybe that's the advantage of having grown up with, literally probably what I would consider pretty shit graphics these days, which we thought were incredible. And now we've come all this way. Like, it almost feels like it's a treat rather than a necessity for me. If I'm not gripped by other elements of the game, then it's inconsequential whether or not the light is perfect. So
100%, it is that. you're using your imagination to fill in and to transport you to believe something rather than being shown the literal way that light should bounce around a room, but your mind is filling it in, and it's kind of like what was it they say about movies, Jamie? I'm trying to remember. It's like the first 10 minutes of anything. Actually, it was the game director of Doom said this. Like the first 10 minutes of anything, the audience is at their most willing stage to accept anything. Yeah, like the premise to be transported anywhere, and it is like that with really great art direction and just getting a player to believe in the world without saying, yeah, but the physics aren't right on that light there, so therefore you've lost me. It's like, that's not the appeal for us in video games at all. And it's funny you mentioned about the blocky graphics here, because I remember like the very first time I saw Pierce Brosnan and Sean Bean's faces mapped to a triangle block in GoldenEye, I thought, holy shit, they've got Pierce Brosnan's face in the game. It looks just like him. But obviously, saying it glibly now, of course, he looks terrible. But you were, as a kid or teenager for me, because I'm ancient here in this group, I was like, oh my God, I just watched GoldenEye and now I'm playing as Pierce Brosnan, and oh my God, it's Robbie Coltrane, oh my God, it's Jaws and Oddjob, they've got them in the game and it looks so much like them, even though it doesn't. But the imagination does a lot of the heavy lifting for this kind of stuff, without necessarily it being in the pursuit of accuracy for physics and for lighting. But again, as you said, of course, we don't want to poo-poo this because it is incredible on a technical level. But if the game isn't there to transport you and to get you emotionally invested in its world, in its story, in its characters, then really it's all for naught, and it's just a technical exercise, That's the thing. You reach a point where it becomes a tech demo more than it does a game. And that's my problem, is that these days I see the conversation online about games coming out, and it's like, oh yeah, this game looks amazing because it's 60 FPS and it's in 4K and it's got, and I'm like, okay, you didn't mention the game play or story or anything. Like, I have literally no idea what this game is about. Can I have some information, please? And that bugs me, because I play video games to escape reality, as I've said many times before, and I care much less about whether or not, that torchlight is flickering in the right way. Or I've played games where there's 2 moons in the sky. How the fuck do you have realistic lighting for 2 moons? We don't know, because we don't have 2 bloody moons. Unless I missed one. I mean, I admit I don't look up that often, so maybe I have, but it just doesn't bother me in the slightest. And again, it looks incredible. The work that they've put into making this work is unfathomable. I am incredibly impressed with everything they've done. If you have the system to run it, you'll be blown away by it. And that's really awesome, and I'm really happy for the people who have. I have seen talk of people saying, oh, it might be time for me to upgrade because look at this. I'm like, why? Yeah. If you enjoyed the game already, you're fine. Don't spend the rent money for 6 months on a graphics card to make Cyberpunk shinier for your 3rd playthrough. It just doesn't seem sensible. Just wait a little while. You'll be fine. You'll get there. And it just, Nah, it doesn't. Gameplay over graphics every time for me. Always has been. Yeah, 100%. Although I would love to see it, but it's not worth bankrupting yourself to experience that. Yeah, I know. I know. The FOMO is not that strong. It's okay. It's okay. It can be extremely strong, but yeah, it's not worth it ultimately. But I will say that in Cyberpunk's defense, the story in that game and the characters in that game are actually really, really good. So the fact that they're also chasing a technical kind of mastery next level stuff is awesome, and it bodes well for what they do with that technology in their future projects, with the Witcher remake coming, which is going to be using Unreal Engine 5, And what else they're working on as well. What is the future of Cyberpunk as well? Phantom Liberty is the big expansion pack which is coming out this year as well, which it must be soon. I can't actually remember the release date for that, but I'm sure some of this tech will filter or be peppered into it a little bit anyway. And it's exciting on a technical level, because we've seen what really pioneering console developers can do, like Insomniac, what they did with their performance ray tracing modes, or even just their basic ray tracing modes in Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man, what Guerrilla Games have done with the Horizon series in terms of what is possible on console hardware, and then the excitement of knowing that those games are getting ported to PC and then saying, yeah, it looked amazing and nobody had a problem with it on PS5, but when you ramp everything to ultra and then you've got uncapped frame rates potentially, what can really be showcased on a technical level, you're thinking, damn, like if this is bleeding edge now, in 5 years, that's going to be standardized. That's just going to be the lowest rung of the benchmark kind of thing, which is wild. It's really wild how fast it's all moving.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if in 5 years' time I'm going to be sat here going, yeah, but I don't need to see the detail of the hairs on the back of the ant or, whatever. Like, it's like, I'm like, well, I'm fine. I grew up with like blocky graphics. I'm okay. Like, but also, just to kind of oppose my own view, like, surely the whole point of like pursuing stuff like this is to get to a point where we are now. So it's amazing. I think it's incredible, and it only excites me for what the possibilities are for what we can do in the future, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of performance and versus graphics, Redfall, folks. I feel so bad for Redfall, guys. We've talked about our excitement for this game a whole bunch of times. Whenever there's been a trailer, whenever there's been a little presentation of it, we're thinking, "Fuck yeah, this looks great!" It's like it's Buffy, it's Sunnydale, and you play as a Scooby Gang sort of thing. You're hunting vampires. It's that kind of vibe, but it's different. It's arcane. It's systemic, immersive, sim-based gameplay. It looks amazing, and their PR team needs to be, I don't know, sacked or had a conversation with or something, because they just are getting hit after hit after hit, and it's not doing the game any favors in the run-up to its launch, which is next month. And it started with IGN putting out a gameplay showcase. It was like IGN first to really promote the game and showcase the gameplay. And apparently this is quite common. It has happened before, where whoever was playing the game to capture it maybe didn't quite know really necessarily what they were doing, or are terribly well versed in how to capture and make gameplay look exciting. And the big showcase that came out of that trailer was not good gameplay. Apparently it looked like it was just really awkward and stiff and just kind of bad. And it's like, who is this person? Did they not know have they ever played games before? That's typical accusations that gets hurled at these poor people. But then the next one was, of course, they tweeted out that the game will be launching at only 30 frames per second, and it will be patched in later. No idea what later means. That the performance mode will arrive for 60 frames per second. And of course, it's another black eye bruise for Arcane and for Xbox as a brand, because this is technically first party big game that Xbox has been lacking for the past little while, and all eyes were on it to be, okay, this is the start of the new push, the new wave of games, which is going to be followed up by things like Starfield, and then Forza is going to be coming, and then we've got Hellblade 2 to look forward to, and then Fable and Avowed and all these other amazing games which are on the slate to eventually arrive. But it was really going to be spearheaded by Redfall. And what is also a kicker is they started the year on such an amazing high with Hi-Fi Rush, which was a shadow drop, and it was fucking incredible. And what a way to start the year, to start your 2023 with new IP. And the message here is now, why isn't, quote unquote, the world's most powerful console incapable of delivering a first-person shooter at 60 frames per second? And there was a furor about it being an always online, but why is it always online if you can play it solo? Why can't you play it offline? It's just hit after hit for poor Redfall and poor Arcane Studios, and I feel really bad because I'm still really looking forward to it. I would prefer 60 frames per second for a first-person shooter. I think that should be standardized. 30 is not a deal breaker, but come on. We're in 2023. We're over 2 years into the next generation of gaming. Where's the next generation promise of 4K 60 was meant to be the benchmark standard, and to have no other gameplay modes, which has kind of been expected now. Like, so many games launch with a quality mode, a performance mode, maybe a high frame rate mode or whatever modes. And this, I feel so bad. And I don't want to chime in to kick a dead horse or anything like that, because I love Arcane and I'm still hugely excited for Redfall, but shit, guys, 30 with no idea when 60's coming? That's brutal. That's brutal. Who wants to take it?
I mean, I'll take it. This tweet is just like, it's the whole like, the game's coming soon, yay. But the game update, the 60 frames is at a later date, ... Like, what? It's so bizarre. Like, there's got to be a better way to say, look, I'm really sorry. The thing that you want, and that is probably arguably, it should be at least a standard, and probably is a standard on basically everything else, is not coming yet. Like, and keeping it vague is, I appreciate maybe they don't want to commit to something, but it just feels a bit like, I don't know, maybe the initial development of the game was, maybe it's been developing for so long that they hadn't realized what they needed to be following on with, and it just seems, it's a bit cringe, isn't it? Like, seeing that and just going, really? Like, in this day and age?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the whole at a later date is just so vague. It's a weird choice, and is it a case of not wanting to fall into the trap of not releasing in time with schedule, that they don't want to have to postpone the whole game, which I see why they're doing that, because we've got so many things that are being like pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and maybe they're trying to not be that company that does that, and they're trying to make sure that they still release as promised, but the compromise is you don't get some of these things that we expect, like the 60 frames per second. Like, it seems like for me, if it's a good game, I am genuinely happy to wait, and I think it's being reasonable with that, and acknowledging the fact that, yes, okay, we want to give you the best game, so I'm really sorry you're going to have to wait, but it does mean that we don't have to do things like release it in 30 frames per second,
I know, because it wasn't that long ago that Gotham Knights took a major battering because it was only 30 frames per second on consoles, and if you wanted the 60, you had to go to PC, and this is a similar situation. Now, where I stand on that, I have been really, really enjoying Gotham Knights, even though it is 30 frames per second on console. I'm playing it on my Series X. It looks amazing because it's all the graphical bells and whistles, but it's 30. And yes, I would have liked the option of a performance mode, but at the same time, for third-person games, I don't mind as much it being 30. Yes, it'd be lovely if it was at 60 frames per second, because that would be hyper smooth. Like Horizon Forbidden West is amazing at 60, but also it plays really tightly at 30 as well. You don't feel like, oh my god, the input delay is astronomical, the camera's panning so sluggishly, this is unplayable. It's not like that at all. It's actually really, really good. And I'm actually playing just now A Plague Tale Requiem, which again is it only came out at 30 frames per second on everything, unless you're playing on a high-end PC, because that game is visually another level. It is phenomenal, the detail that they've packed into that, the lighting, the textures, the just like stuffing stuff into the environment in terms of detail, and of course all the billions of rats that you see on screen. And I love that cinematic presentation for slower-paced games, or maybe not like the Twitch reaction style of games. for third person, and it works really, really well, and it's actually quite a wonderful experience. But but anything first person, I can't do 30, not anymore. It's something to do with the narrower field of view, I think, and it being first person versus a detached camera, where I don't know what it is, but I cannot play first person games at 30 frames per second. It has to be the smoother 60 frames per second. And this is a shooter. It should always have been a standard 60 frames per second. And then if you want to push resolution and effects, then that shouldn't have been the priority. And it goes back to, I guess, our conversation that we just had there about Cyberpunk, about pushing graphics at the detriment of gameplay for a shooter. And of course, the whole conversation is made even worse because the gameplay footage that they've been promoting on this has been 60 frames per second, with the message that this is an Xbox console exclusive, it's coming to Game Pass, but clearly that footage was all fucking PC. So the Series X is getting treated like a second-class afterthought rather than the premier gaming experience for the console space for this game and for Xbox. Whereas it's like, yeah, you're just basically going to have to get rid of your Series X then and just buy a PC if you want these games, these first-party games, to be running at 60, which is hugely frustrating and a big old kick in the balls for the fans who have been Xbox players since day one, since 2001, like myself and Jamie, who had the OG big boy console and that Duke controller, who we've supported every console generation for Xbox. And it's just sad that this is the conversation running up to the launch of this game rather than a fucking big celebration about this big game coming out. It's Arcane's next major franchise. It's Xbox's next big IP. And this should have been flocking toward it. Like moths to the flame, right? And it should have been a celebration. And now we're just talking about, oh great, it's another Xbox launch, but what's wrong with it? We're talking about the things that are wrong here rather than the things that it's doing so incredibly well. And it's just sad. So sad.
It's a perfect storm of failures. It's a prime example of the clusterfuck that is any game coming out into the space today. You have I'm gonna throw out a contentious viewpoint. I honestly maintain that most people go, oh yeah, no, it just looks so different. You didn't fucking notice a difference between 30 and 60. You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't. I don't care about FPS. I really don't. I genuinely, maybe it's just these old tired eyes of mine, but 9 times out of 10, I look at the side-by-sides and go, it's exactly the fucking same. I don't see what you're talking about. So I think if that was the only issue and it had been handled well by PR, people would be going, okay, well, it still looks great and it's coming and okay, we'll cope for now and etc. So I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm not at all, because it should be the standard and it should have been, like, it should never have been a question, especially when you're talking about it being the, you know, as you said, it's a new IP, it's the new, like, it could be a real spearhead for Xbox, and instead it's coming out and going, yeah, we didn't finish it, but here it is. Sorry. And all it would have, a nice little video from someone with a bit of personality at the company coming forth and saying, hi, here at Arcane, we've been working really hard on Redfall, and we hope that you're all excited to play it. Unfortunately, we've got some news to share with you, and a nice little address to the fans. Hell, turn around and say, we would have had to postpone this title, and we don't want to do that to you, so we're releasing this in what we're calling early access. It's not quite finished, but it'll be polished up as it goes. But enjoy it. There are so many ways you could handle this, and people will go, "Oh, okay, well that kind of sucks, but I'm still looking forward to it." Get someone who's actually picked up a controller before to play it for your gameplay videos, IGN. Right?
Yeah.
And again, I saw snippets of the gameplay, but it is a bit of it's a rarefied art. It's the same with streaming. You know, it's so easy to sit there and get too lost in the game and not talk about it, or to sit there going through the menus for 20 minutes and people are going, I want to see how the fucking gameplay. Like, so it is something that people, you need to actually showcase what makes the game great if you're doing a gameplay dive.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that footage, just a tiny note for IGN, go back and play the fucker again and record some that is worth having on screen. Apparently I'm really angry about this one, so I don't think the problem I have is that I'm really excited for Redfall. I get to play Buffy, and it looks great, and I'm still really hyped for it. But because of this perfect storm of everyone doing their jobs not particularly well, but I hate to say it, but the PR team dropped the ball on this one. There was no way that should have been the way that this was handled. And then IGN, yeah, they didn't do the best video. Now, you know, again, I'm not knocking the person who actually recorded it. I don't know who they are, but I'm just saying that you didn't get the best showcase for it, clearly. And so all of those things combined, people are now having the wrong... And there is also, sadly, a bit of an overwhelming negativity generally in the gamer sphere these days, like when it comes to game releases, I think because we've been burnt enough times before. But you do tend to get people are almost going into new launches going, well, let's see how they fuck this one up. But it's like wrong. Going into it going like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be like, maybe this looks great. Like, try and have a bit of oomph when it comes to game releases. But yeah, it's really frustrating because all I know is that my vampire game's coming out soon. I'm really hyped for it, and everyone's around me going, "No, don't be hyped for that shit." Okay, I guess it's shit. Sorry, I was happy for a minute. I'll go back to fucking sitting in a dark room and smacking myself in the head with a frying pan. So that's
PUBG is the frying pan thing. I think it is. But
don't bloody talk to me about PUBG.
It is really kind of disappointing because this for the most part, this game does look amazing, and the poor footage is like they spent 20 minutes. Like if it was my footage, it would be 20 minutes of just like opening boxes, opening drawers, scavenging for shit, rather than getting into the combat or the missions or talking to people. Like you're meant to edit that stuff out, not just not keep the plodding stuff in or really boring stealth stuff. It's like, no, get to this, get to the point. And like up until that point, all the footage that they'd shown looked really good. So it's like people have really short memories and they only latch on to the most recent thing that they've seen about the game, and that clearly is the entirety of the game in a nutshell. It's like, no, we saw an amazing showcase a couple of months ago or a month ago showing all of the different stuff, like showing bits of the map, hearing directly from the developers, they're passionate about the game, and the only thing that has now put this game not even in jeopardy but giving it a big old black eye is this frame rate conversation. And of course it's compounded even worse because Deathloop came out on the PlayStation 5 originally. It's now on Xbox, but that had both modes. It had the quality mode and it had the performance mode, and it's got to be the COVID environment, because Harvey Smith said that the game has been developed under challenging COVID-19 challenges with frequent power outages. That had to have, and we still, and we may never know the full ramifications of the pandemic on all of the games that have been delayed. But clearly, it's had a major impact on the development of this game to say we would have to delay it another month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, who knows how many months, to work on a pure performance mode. But they're walking into a brick wall there because people are saying, well, why didn't you prioritize performance over graphics? But then the conversation is, yeah, but you don't want your first impression of your game to look like it's been smeared in Vaseline and it looks shit. That's the first impression. The first impression is always looks. Yeah. Then people go for, yeah, but how does it feel to play? And like Jamie, what you said is like, I bet this feels really good to play, because I was also thinking back to, remember last generation? And I noticed we can't really have a conversation too much about generational expectations, because we are expecting 60 as the standard, not PS4, Xbox One standard of 30. But, you know, Destiny was a blindingly good shooter back in 2013, and it was always 30 frames per second. Nobody complained on console. Yes, you could eventually get it on PC, and it was amazing, of course, at the higher frame rates, but it played and felt amazing. Halo's always felt amazing at 30, and of course and it's not the right conversation, because, yeah, but that was then, this is now. It needs to be standard. Every shooter is 60 frames per second now. This needs to be the standard. And when you're not, it's going to, well, we're seeing the fallout of that, and it's overtaking all of the goodwill that Arcane and Xbox had built up in the run-up to this game. And man, it's still just sad to see it all taken over. This big PR shitstorm.
Yeah, I feel like, and the community, we're not really, well, I think us accepted, like, they're quite, like, massively fickle. So the minute that something slightly bad is going on, someone is like, well, fuck, I'm not buying this, or I'm not playing it on release, I'm not gonna pre-order, I'm not gonna blah blah blah. Like, our capacity to understand that these are human beings that are creating this game, like, kind of seems to go out the window when all we're seeing is a tweet. And I think that's why, like you were saying, Jamie, having someone do a little video, a little direct address that basically says, hey guys, I'm a human being and my team of human beings have been trying to work on this game and we're all really excited because we all love video games. This is what we can do. We want you to be able to enjoy it now, and then we'll get you an even better version later. Like, I think that would just, for me, I'm already, just talking about it makes me go, you know what, actually, yeah, I'm not actually that worried about it, to be fair. I'm probably going to still play it on release because I've been hyped for it for ages. But, like, I think we are not doing, well, as a community anyway, generally, we're not doing a very good job of remembering that, yeah, obviously these games are being made for us to play them, but there is masses of people behind it that are stressing out, trying to make sure that they produce the best thing that they can possibly produce. And, yeah, there are limits to what people can do. And yeah, I think a little bit more compassion would be good, but also being able to hear from the devs would be really helpful, because then it helps, you know, talking to a person as opposed to just reading a tweet. It's going to make an impact. I would hope it would make an impact, at least.
Agreed. 100% agreed. It would have gone really far to soften this news and explain just a little bit better. Yeah, and humanize it even more. 100%. Okay. Ghostwire Tokyo, another Bethesda game studio, Tango Gameworks, of course. They were the developers of Hi-Fi Rush as well as Evil Within. Ghostwire Tokyo has finally come to Xbox Gamepass. It was, of course, originally a PlayStation console exclusive for a little while last year, and it's now on Game Pass for all subscribers. I've been playing a little bit of it, and I was always interested in it, but it was a game I would never have bought. I have to be honest, it was a game I looked at and I thought, it looks cool, but I'll never buy this game. Thank God for Game Pass, because this is where this kind of stuff will truly shine and it'll get people talking about it. And you know what? The game is really, really freaking good. I love the setting. I love the premise. I'm going to try not to give too much away, but the fact that you are spellcasting with like your hand gestures and things like that, and it's super spooky. It's like Japanese paranormal weird shit going on, and the whole look of it has a quality mode and a performance mode, which is great to have as well, being first person, and it is addictive. It is super addictive and creepy as fuck, and really worth checking out, especially if you've got Game Pass, because it will cost you nothing just to download it and check it out. It's great to see it finally on Xbox, and those Xbox players can check it out. Have either of you been curious about this game?
Yes. Short answer, yeah. It looked really interesting. Give me Japanese and creepy, and I'm sold anyway, because I'm a huge fan of, the Japanese horror genre and that sort of thing. So, and horror games. Like, I obviously played Phasmophobia to death. I'm currently hooked on the new one, Demonologist, which is Phasmophobia but better. Saying it right now.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah. So when I saw trailers and stuff, and it looked really good, and I yearn for the death of exclusivity, so I was waiting for it to come across. So yeah, I will be diving into it at some point. Christ knows when, let's be fair. Probably sometime in 2032. My old arthritic hands can barely handle gaming anymore, but yeah, no, it's definitely on the list. It looks really good.
it's actually showing Tango Gameworks to be one of Xbox's most interesting and smart acquisitions. Like, it really is. If you think about, before it was Evil Within, which is a great IP to own and have in your stable of games, but then Ghostwire Tokyo, vastly different, still creepy as fuck, but visually super impressive with all the effects going on and the Doctor Strange kind of like hand manipulation gestures to cast the spells. But then they also released Hi-Fi Rush at the beginning of the year that nobody knew they were working on. So you've got this talent, this variety of IP within this studio. You're thinking, that's hugely impressive to be a first-party developer, and it's hugely exciting for what this studio can do next. And I'm really looking forward to just keeping an eye on them. And I need to get back to Hi-Fi Rush because that game is absolutely brilliant. And it's being touted as a lot of people's game of the year because it's so unexpected and so fresh and so fun. And God, the animation is just gorgeous in that. But for Ghostwire Tokyo, again, vastly different experience, but just very unique in a space where there is, a lot of games tend to blend together, or they tend to say, oh, well, we know that genre sells, let's do that. Whereas this is very, very different. The only thing I can really think of that is a kind of similar first-person spellcasting sort of thing is that title, is it Neon White, where it's more like a card-based thing and speedrunning and it's kind of like first-person spellcasting. More kind of anime style. I think it's on PC and PlayStation and stuff. But anyway, I think it's also on Xbox as well. But again, we're starting to see spellcasting games being like the go-to genre right now, which is kind of wild. So we before we go on to the next topic about this, Sarah, I want to get your quick thoughts on Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to figure out because, spooky things, love those. Japanese, amazing. I love the setting. I don't know why I hadn't played this. And then I realized that about 3 weeks prior to that, Elden Ring came out. So that's what I was playing.
There you go.
I was trying to figure out, I was like, surely this would have, because I think I remember seeing the trailer and thinking it looked cool. And I think I probably fell into the same trap as you, Ross. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to play it, but I probably wasn't going to buy it. So I'm so glad. Yay, Game Pass can stay. And it's nice to kind of have this kind of it's almost like a relaunch, right? The fact that it's now coming across to Game Pass. And I kind of missed, it kind of got missed because I was in the middle of something else. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I wanted to play that. So it's quite nice to kind of be able to come back to that and go, great, let's play it. Amazing, let's give it a go. So yeah, it sounds really cool. I remember wanting to play it, but yeah, I mean, this is the problem with the whole like pile of shame thing, right? Like, there's other games that come out and draw your attention, especially Elden Ring, and what a massive drop. I wouldn't have wanted to release around the time of Elden Ring if I was any other game. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, I think it did impact Horizon Forbidden West quite heavily because all the attention got taken away from that onto Elden Ring. And the same is happening again. Burning Shores is launching right around the time of Tears of the Kingdom. God damn it, Guerrilla. Your fucking PR team needs a slap. It's like there's no good time. There's no good time to release a game, clearly, because you're going to step on somebody's toes or get overshadowed as well.
Yeah, without fail.
I know, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's super creepy and weird, but different as well, and visually really pretty. And it's a good segue into the next title, which is called Immortals of Aveum, which is a new one that just got announced and shown off. And it got me thinking of this new, like the latest fad, the latest thing seems to be spellcasting games. Like fast-paced spellcasting combat seems to be like the big thing right now. This looks amazing. It's going to be an Unreal Engine 5. It's apparently the pedigree that's behind it is like ex-Call of Duty, ex-Dead Space devs and things like that. So it's going to look amazing. You know it's going to be insanely polished. But if you think back, like Forspoken, which was the Square Enix game, the PlayStation exclusive, for better or worse, I know Sarah's scrunching her face here, but that was very much spellcasting combat as well. And now we've got this, and we've got obviously Ghostwire Tokyo is kind of that first-person spellcasting combat, and it's really cool because it's the genre of combat, I guess, is kind of moving. Like, being the mage was never like the get up in your face sort of like stompy, whack, thump, destroy things on the front line of battlefields. They were always hang back and that's your range thing. Whereas now the genre's kind of changing a bit to make the spell casting just making you feel like a fucking badass because you're zipping around the environment, you're getting up close, you're doing it at range, and it just looks really, really awesome. And I always was a little bit apprehensive of being like the spellcaster because I like to hit things with a big old stick. Like, I never go mage in Elden Ring or Dark Souls. I like to hit things with a big old sword or things like that. And will you get the same satisfaction of like that impact of physically striking something within a game if you are a spellcaster? And it seems like these games are trying to capture that feeling, but by casting these like ridiculously over the top spells. And Immortals of Aveum is getting an extra bump up the most hyped list because the Queen Gina Torres is starring in this, who is of course in Destiny, Ikora Rey, and I absolutely adore her. And the fact that she's got a starring role in this is like, okay, we're elevating again. It's a brand new game, new team, etc. But you know they've got some top tier talent to star in the game as well. It just looks wild. Jamie, what do you think?
Gotta play. Absolutely gotta play. I am always a mage. I love playing a mage. I love magic users. I'm even in D&D, I will usually be some form of magic user. I mean, bards mostly because it appeals to my extravagant side. But yeah, no, I love magic use, and I'm loving. Doctor Strange was really cool, right? And in Doctor Strange, you get to see him do all this, and stuff happens, and you sit there and think, I wish I could do that. And then games go, well, you can't, but we can give you the next best thing. We can give you a game you can do it in. Yeah, that'll do me. But there's a moment in the trailer where he casts out a magical tether and pulls someone off a ledge, and then smashes them in the face with a rock that he's lifted up. I'm like, yes, that'll do. That's plenty satisfying. I'll take that. It looks fantastic. There was a moment though. If it hadn't been for the inclusion of some nice voice acting and Gina Torres being there was a moment with it where it was like, this is Immortals of... Did you not get just a little touch of those Facebook adverts to go, this is Warriors of Blandifang? And then they show you all this amazing cinematic stuff. And then it cuts into the gameplay and it's basically dots running about or it's a Connect 3. And I was sat there. When you sent it across, I was like, okay, I'm not sure. And then it kicked in. I'm sure. I'm in. Yeah. So
I was expecting it to be one of those puzzles games where you remove the rods and the lava either kills the person or you get the coin.
Bane of my existence.
This mum and this child are cold. Make sure the coal falls into the fire.
Yeah, or the latest wave that you get, which is just survival has never been so easy. Just you complete. Have you seen the advert for the zombie game where they're at a wedding? It's a live action advert. They're at a wedding. This popped up on my YouTube, and I had it in mind to speak about because this is what's wrong with the games industry today. They have this bunch of people, and this guy comes and he goes, "I'm not marrying her. Her father's a lawyer. He said I could get 777 draws for free on State of Survival on Facebook." And he comes in and goes, did you download it using the link below? I'm like, what link below? You're at a fucking wedding. Right? And he goes, no. And he straight up slaps the guy in the face. He goes, you idiot. And I'm like, the fuck is happening here? And then it cuts to the worst animated game I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, stop all that shit.
What?
But anyway.
What?
I've no idea. They're getting weirder. So, but yeah,
That's bizarre.
Immortals of Aveum. It looks brilliant. So, and there was just a smattering of gameplay in amongst the cinematic scenes, and yeah. Because I was waiting to see that as well, and it looks really nice. Like the actual casting and like your weapons, your hands, but they had a blade that came out at one point and all that. Oh yeah, it just looks I want to play.
Yeah, it's really good, really good.
Yeah. Man. It does. I also tend to play magic wielders, or I tend to make a build that has a little bit of both. Like my Elden Ring character is both. It's essentially an Eldritch Knight D&D style. But yeah, I guess the thing is, like, classically, the casters tend to be a little squishy. So you're like, okay, I'm going to stand back because otherwise one hit or even maybe 2 hits, if someone's not doing so well against me, will take me down. But, like, there's literally a moment in this trailer where there's a big dude wielding 2 swords and the magic wielders behind him just goes poof, and, like, shoots them from afar. I was like, no, I think you'll find that actually magic wielders are the best. And it's so good. And I think as long as we get, like you say, the satisfying feeling of being able to, you know, the same feeling that you get if you've got a really powerful, like, gun, for example, in something like Warhammer, like, and you shoot something in Darktide from across the room and you feel like a badass. As long as you have that encapsulated within this kind of the almost no limit style that you can have with magic, like the kind of elemental things that you can go to, I think this looks like a winner. It looks really, really cool. And the fact that everybody has the same, like, it's all based in magic, that is really cool. So you're not like the mage. Everybody is a caster. Everybody is a badass caster. It looks really cool. And I love this, like, kind of sort of like a build on top of your own hand, which is like the thing that you're casting through, which just, who doesn't want to be able to do that and then cast some magic at someone? It looks great.
Yeah.
It does look amazing. July 20th. So there we go. Straight after, once we're done and dusted with Final Fantasy, we can jump into this. Wow.
Oh my God. Amazing. Love it.
I know. Okay. Folks, Jack Black could very well be standing on the Oscar stage next year singing about his love for peaches. What do we say to that?
It's overdue. It's overdue is what it is, because Jack Black is the best. I love Jack Black. How absurd, but how brilliant. Like, and the song is so like Tenacious D light. It's like, you know, obviously it's a kid's film, right? So we need to make sure that it fits within the realm of Super Mario, and it's Bowser singing a song about Peach, but also it's Jack Black. So it's got to have like a really good sprinkling of just as Jack Black as it can be. I actually, when you put this in the show notes for this week, I was like, oh, Ross, like, I actively have, like, not watched or listened to this song yet because I want to watch it in situ.
Sure,
of the film.
yeah.
But because it was, like, alongside the headline of is eligible for an Oscar now, I was like, oh my God, okay, right, fine. Now is the time for me to listen to it out of context. But also, you know, I know that Bowser loves Peach. Fine, that's easy. Like, I can get on board with that. But it is, it's great, isn't it? And I haven't listened to the whole thing yet because there was like a drop of like the full length song, and there's I think it's actually got Jack Black, and I saw the very start of the video, and it's like in this big pink room, and it's actually Jack Black, and it's actually Jack Black at the piano, and I'm like, I'm not ready to watch this yet. Like that one's gonna have to wait, but there's a full,
I haven't seen that one yet.
A full like release of the song as a single, which is I think what's in the charts at the moment.
Oh my God, yeah, it's in the iTunes top 100 already. I've only seen the little like 1 minute thing I sent you guys because I also want to see it in the context of the whole film, which I'm lucky enough to be going to the cinema shortly after we've wrapped recording to go see it. Oh, can't wait! Taking Marcus, Jess and I are going. We're going to have so much fun. But I just think it's wonderful. I just think it's absolutely wonderful that this movie is making crazy bank. Already it's made like, I think it's 500 million it's already taken. It's the most successful adaptation ever, which is outstanding. Like, don't write off kids' movies. That's all I'm going to say. If it's aimed at kids and it's good enough for adults, then that's why Toy Story was so successful as a franchise. Because adults love it, because all the little references, and kids just love it because it's just fun and colorful and it's got these cute ass characters in it. And the fact that Jack Black is just like we were already fully on board with his casting as Bowser anyway, And just seeing him do promotion for it, you just know that he is such an Uber fan. He is carrying the PR for this movie on his ample shoulders. And I just love the fact that he's got a song in this movie. And not only that, I desperately want people to just vote for this and get it up there as it doesn't have to win. I just want to see him on the Oscar stage dressed as fucking Bowser just doing this fucking song, which just seems like such a parody and a piss take of the whole Oscar ceremony. I think it's just going to be amazing. And please, listeners, whoever votes for this, you gotta get it on there as a nomination. It's just so good. It's so good.
It's beautiful. It's Jack Black. It's tenacious PG. It's
that was brilliant.
That was good.
I love
good.
Tenacious D. Like, I'm such a fan of Tenacious D. There's currently a rumor that they're playing download this year, and I am going to download this year. So
God.
If
they're amazing live,
the beard,
you will love it if they're there.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like this is why the beard. I'm growing it for download. It's the only reason I have so much beard currently is because I want to be able to braid the fucking thing before I go and get kicked to death in a mosh pit. And yeah, if I love Jack Black, and I haven't seen Mario yet. I'm going to. I was thinking about heading along this week potentially to go and see it. We shall see. But yeah, it's a really good song as well. Like it's a really, really good, really fun, really, it's goofy, but it's high quality goofy, and he should win. In fact, he's won. In our hearts and minds, he is already Oscar nominated, Oscar winning performer Jack Black.
Yeah,
whatever the Academy says, he's walking away with the tiny golden man.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see the movie and pass judgment on it on probably our next show. But okay, last topic, guys. Tears of the Kingdom finally gets its full blown and I guess final story trailer. And this is obviously coming hot off the heels of the Nintendo Direct, which talked a lot about the new systems in the game, which we were geeking out about, being able to fuse things together and manipulate time and being able to jump through ceilings if there was a cave and all this kind of crazy shit going on. But this is finally, they're alluding to more actual, what is the story? What are the beats here? What is the motivation? And of course, they unveiled Ganondorf, which has been announced that it's going to be voiced by Matthew Mercer from Critical Role, which is pretty fucking cool casting. And I was watching this trailer. The hero theme, or as Link is basically skydiving down to the plains of Hyrule. Gorgeous music, just epic feeling. This, I didn't want to say, oh god damn it, this looks absolutely amazing, but god damn it, this looks absolutely amazing. I didn't want another reason to have to give Nintendo their ridiculously overpriced funding, because this is going to be expensive, and it's still just a Switch game, for better or worse. I know, don't come at me, but I this deserves higher, more powerful hardware, this game, but I'm still going to play it on my Switch because it does look absolutely amazing. And I guess it's the only really big game from Nintendo this year, I think, because in terms of first party, I should say, this all eyes are on Tears of the Kingdom, and you just know that this is going to sell absolute gangbusters, and it just looks so ambitious and so impressive. I really need to play Breath of the Wild because I still have not played it. Sorry.
Oh,
Sarah?
Well, same.
Yeah.
I started it and then I didn't finish it. Yeah, it looks great, doesn't it? It looks beautiful. I really enjoyed the reveal of Ganondorf in the trailer as well. Sort of initially just a view from behind, a sort of like profile, but just massive red hair. I was like, oh, I know who that is. And then the fact that it's Matt Mercer, come on now. Now I'm like, oh, where am I going to find 80 quid or whatever it is? They're so expensive, the Switch games. My God. And they don't seem to decrease in price very quickly after release either. Even like a year after release, it's still like, well, you might get it for 5 quid less, maybe. But it will be amazing. It looks beautiful, and I do really, really want to play it. But I do still think that the price point is a struggle for me. So it means potentially not playing 2 other games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like on another console, or even possibly more if I'm looking at games on Steam. You know, so. It does look amazing, and I'll see what I could do. Maybe I'll just put it on my birthday wish list and see if someone gets it for me.
Yeah, just get Connor to pay for it. That's the way it's done. Yeah, offset, offload
that's
the
what
cost.
He's here for. That's what he's here for, right? He's here for buying stuff like that.
I know, but I totally agree, because you look at this. Yes, it does look impressive, but at the same time, it's the same price as like Final Fantasy 16. And you look at the presentation of Final Fantasy 16, you're thinking, oh, and this shouldn't be the conversation, but it has to be the conversation. It's like, yeah, but Final Fantasy 16 is 4K, is going to be bleeding edge graphics, is going to be pushing the latest generation of hardware, whereas Tears of the Kingdom may be a phenomenal game, but it's still on like 8-year-old hardware, or when it came out, 2015. So yeah, almost 8-year-old hardware. And how can Nintendo justify the frigging cost? Because of Nintendo, and because they can, the bastards. But that's the technical side of it shouldn't be part of the conversation, but I guess it needs to be part of the conversation, because for that level of money, you should be expecting an amazingly polished, technically advanced product. But that shouldn't, I'm torn about this, because that should never really be the conversation about the quality of a game, the technical side of it. It's not going to make the game play any better necessarily, or look any better necessarily, because it's all Nintendo's art direction. And it's only going to be 1080p 30, even if 1080p, but it does smack a little bit to say $70, $80 for something that is not 1080p, that is only 30, if it can even hold a stable 30 frames per second. That feels a little bit dirty. But it's going to be an amazing game regardless, I think.
For me, it's less about the tech side of things. It's down to the fact that, because I have this thing with games like with stuff like Legend of Zelda, or Sea of Thieves is a good one that I point out for this, or Fortnite even. They have, because they're not going down the hyper-realistic route, they are always going to look as good as they look now. Yeah. So in 10 years' time, when you go back and replay that for nostalgia, you're going to be looking at it going, God, this is pretty. Whereas the hyper-realistic games, you go, we thought this looked good. Fucking, like what you were saying before with GoldenEye and that, it's like, we thought this looked good.
Yeah.
But I still remember having great fun with it, but Christ, it looks like dog. So like, it doesn't work. But for me, it's the fact that obviously I'd have to buy a Switch, so it's a huge outlay for me to play this game anyway,
yeah.
So I'll hold off. But my kids are going to want it, and it's not an inconsiderable amount of money. But it's also the fact that if I had a Switch and I paid the 60 to 80 that they're asking for this, I just bought Demonologist on Steam for £12.
Yeah.
And it has near infinite replayability. I can play that for the rest of my life, probably, and they're adding stuff constantly. How many hours am I going to get out of Zelda? Let's say it's, I've seen people say like 120 hours. Okay, that's great. But eventually there'll come a point when I put it back on the shelf.
Yeah. And
it's a lot of money for something with an expiry date. It just seems a bit. I'm not saying it's not worth the money, because again, value subjective, and if there'll be people who are sat there chomping at the bit for this game, more than willing to pay it, and good, I'm glad, and it looks incredible, and the fact that it's got Matt Mercer in it, you could squeeze another £5 out of me for that alone, at least. So I'm happy. But yeah, it just Nintendo need to have a look at their pricing point, because it's with every Nintendo game, and it's always this problem. You know, whenever I cringe a little every time Nintendo release something, because I've got 2 kids with a Switch each. And it's taking the piss a bit at this point.
Wow.
As the country goes into free fall and you can't afford shoes, it's just a bit much. So maybe rein it in.
You need to get them a Steam Deck and just emulate everything, Jamie, for them.
I've
Sell their Switches.
You know, I've tried to persuade them that yo-yos and a hoop and a stick is really the absolute way to go, but they're not buying it.
Just give them a little bit of chalk and tell them to go outside. Draw some stuff on the concrete. Play hopscotch.
You remember when the hottest toy, Jamie, was the soda drink yo-yos you used to be able to collect? There was a gold Coca-Cola one, and I had a Sprite one, which was clear with the green end caps on the yo-yo. You got like Fanta ones. You got Lilt, R.I.P. Lilt. I can't believe we no longer have Lilt, but the god tier S tier drink. But yeah, yo-yos. Bring back yo-yos.
Pogs.
Pogs. Loved Pogs.
Tazos. Do you remember Tazos in packs of walkers? And they're little,
Yes,
and you can flip them together and do nothing with them. Pointless little pieces of card with pictures on. And I had thousands of them. I love them. So, I mean, even the toys that we loved as kids are becoming. Look at Lego. Like, Lego's fantastic, but by crikey, there's some money in Lego these days. And like, Lego to me is the ultimate toy. I always said that. Lego is absolutely the ultimate toy. But you know, everything costs too. I remember when all this was Fields. I feel like old man shakes fist at clown at this point. But it's not. Christ, and he's more grey in this beard.
I know. But and you're going to be buying 2 copies of Tears of the Kingdom when it comes out for both your kids. So shut your face.
Yeah,
you know it's going to happen.
It will. And to be fair, they will get hours and hours of enjoyment out of it because it looks bloody amazing. Like it's the same as I keep saying with loads of stuff. I'm not complaining about the games or the work the devs put into it, and I very rarely am. It's usually PR or pricing, or somewhere in the echelon there's some bugger sat in a dusty old office counting his gold coins into a drawer. Boil him in his own pudding. And like, nah, fucking all of that gets my goat, but the game's looking absolutely amazing, and that Ganondorf reveal was that was absolutely stunning.
I know.
So yeah,
not long to go. May 12th. So
that's less than a month.
Packed year. I can't believe it. I can't believe the year is almost half done, but not quite. But we're getting there, and we're just getting banger every single. There's a banger every single month so far that we're looking forward to. It's going to be crazy. We're going to have lots to talk about. But anyway, that is a wrap on this week's show, episode 102. 90 minutes of amazing banter, rant-filled, tangent-filled gaming awesomeness. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had an absolute blast today, folks. Join us next week for more shenanigans. I'll be giving my verdict on Super Mario Brothers movie because I get to go see it in T-minus like 2 hours. Can't wait. I really can't wait. And I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about as well. More headlines, more tangents, and more rants to wind Jamie up and just set him off. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. Take care, everybody. Happy gaming, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.